The holiday season is right around the corner, and with it comes the need to show a special person in your life you care. That's right. Why spend all the other days in the year when you can use a particular pagan holiday that helps to line the pockets of capitalist CEOs? If you're listening to this, you're here for the perfect gift giving guide for the gamer in your life. That's gamer, non derogatory. Welcome to a festive episode of the Good Game Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game Bad Game podcast. Good Game Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game Bad Game podcast. I'm your host Spencer, and with me is let me take that again. Apologies to fumble
It's who, Spencer?
the intro for you. With me is GTA 6's number one hype fan. It's my co-host Mike. Mike, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm hyped. I'm gonna run on that stage. I'm talking about Bill Clinton and such. That's when it's gonna happen.
Oh God.
That's gonna be my parlay for the game awards.
I feel like that would have very favorable odds for you, right?
You like, when else are you gonna do it?
Like that's a long shot, but it could definitely happen.
Right. I mean, that's a $5 bet with a payout of $200,000.
Absolutely. We are recording this the day after Jason Schreier broke that Rockstar was going to be releasing a new trailer for GTA 6. He broke that at like 10 p.m. I was actually already asleep when you sent it to me. I was a tired boy.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point you were too hyped. You were like, I can't go to sleep. Santa's coming tomorrow.
I haven't slept since.
And then Rockstar this morning confirmed it. So crazy stuff, crazy time to be alive. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how to buy gifts for various levels of gamer in your life. But before we talk about that, Mike, what have you been playing?
Mario?
Okay. Why did you question it?
Because I had the last second travel this weekend.
Oh no.
Yeah. I had a free weekend this weekend. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to beat Cyberpunk, at least get as far as I can. And if I do that, either play Forza or get back into Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, had to travel. So played a little bit of Mario before I left. I will say, I did play a game you're never going to guess.
Well, now hang on a second. Give me one opportunity.
Okay.
Minesweeper?
Close. I do love Minesweeper.
I was just thinking like it's got to be something like off the cuff, like something not on a console. So I was thinking like,
oh, that was your first mistake.
Oh, so okay, it's on Peggle. You were playing Peggle.
Yeah, and it slapped.
Was it actually Peggle?
No.
Oh.
Why are you saying it Peggle?
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 Peggle. There you go.
Puggle? What'd you play?
I played a PS5.
You did what?
I played a PS5.
You got a PS5?
I didn't get a PS5.
Celebrate good times. I'm sorry, did you say you didn't get one?
I did not get one.
No!
Yeah, now you know how I feel. I didn't know there was confetti. Jeez.
Yeah, I've rigged your house. So you said I pressed a button and everything just exploded around you.
You're just waiting for the moment I said I got this. Wait until you tell me you got an Xbox.
Oh my god. What game did you play?
Unfortunately, it's going to happen in Boston.
It's incredible.
Somebody's going to be really confused. I played favorite child game, Fortnite.
Okay, all right.
And I got myself a sweet victory royale in my second game.
Nice. Was that OG Fortnite?
Yeah.
So that was like
OG,
a big event.
no build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I was at my brother's house this weekend, and of course he was playing it. He's a big Fortnite guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took a couple games, and yeah, my second game I won.
Out of
Must
way.
have been too easy.
I feel like if Fortnite was no build from the start, I might have gotten into it.
I agree. I had like a streak of it, but I did not build. I just
Yeah.
kind of played it. I like panic built walls and such, and was not very good at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was pretty fun. I just can't do the time commitment of it,
Sure.
considering I don't like run through and just go blasting people. I did get 6 kills, so I wasn't just camping the whole time.
Out of way.
I was camping 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Just cleaned up at the end.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
I feel like all of my wins would be off of like 1 kill or no kills, and somehow they just like died outside of the zone.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would do it.
I was chastised by my brother, who's, like I said, takes this very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
because at one point I was in a conflict with somebody, and there was a zip line,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a grenade launcher. So I took the grenade launcher up and was just spamming it, going "Dun-la, dun-la, dun-la." Yeah. So I don't know if that came through, but it's fortunate son.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I got him. Of course, like, did you just noob tube the guy? I was like, hell yeah. Kill's a kill.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on your side, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily good for you or not, but
I don't care.
Or in the serious community. How old's your brother, by the way?
Old enough.
Yeah, he should grow up.
There's something about, like, assuming you killed a 12-year-old.
Yeah, he posted something, I think, on Twitter that was like, imagine getting sniped by, getting headshotted by like a 30-year-old or whatever. It was just like, so, yeah, you do imagine that the person on the other side in a game, especially like that, is probably 16 or younger. And there is something very funny about that.
Then you realize it's actually just a bunch of 30-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
Yeah.
And are you still enjoying Mario, since you said you played a little bit of that?
Yeah. Yep. We just did a couple of levels, but yeah, we're enjoying it. I know Justine played a bunch of it this weekend.
Has she beaten it yet on like her own?
No.
Wow.
No. She took a little bit of a break from it for a couple of days and then came back over this past weekend, and said she actually had a level that challenged her like a classic Mario level would.
There you go.
Yeah, so she was pretty excited about that.
She's like, this game has one good level.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Shelby and I've still been playing it. We're streaming it, and so we do like one world a night basically when we stream it. 'Cause it's like the perfect amount of time. You can do a world in like anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. And yeah, we were talking about it. It's really solid. Like I think it's my favorite. Shelby puts the Wii one above this one, but
Interesting.
it's so good. It's such a good game.
Yeah, we're really enjoying it.
Yeah. And they did like, we talked about it, I know, last week, but they did a lot of like cool stuff, I think, to kind of breathe some new life into the game, you know? So, or into the genre, the franchise, whatever you'd say. So
Makes me excited for it moving forward. And I think I saw last night that it's like the fastest selling Super Mario title of all time.
wow. Yeah, it's not surprising.
It's like 4.9 million units in 2 weeks.
It's crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
And we're not even to the holidays. Which, if I
Yeah.
didn't have to ask you about your week in gaming, would have been the perfect segue.
You don't have to ask me about my week in gaming
Okay, well, I'm not going to.
because I didn't really play anything. I did get a
Two guys with a gaming podcast that has survived COVID. We sure don't play a whole lot of video games.
I do play a lot of video games. I just feel like I don't play anything of note. that's
Yeah.
like worth bringing up. I mean, I'm playing some absolute. I'm not gonna say dog shit, but like, let's see. I'm going back. I'm looking. I did get a couple more platinums. Got the platinum in MLB The Show, but for the PS4. So that means I downloaded and put time into MLB, and then Dragon Quest Heroes, which was just like super grindy. And there's really nothing of note to say there. Very good game. So I've played Dragon Quest Builders now and Dragon Quest Heroes, and I've yet to play a mainline Dragon Quest game, and I want to, but these side games are actually really fun. I'm really enjoying them, and Dragon Quest Heroes is like, what are those games where you like? I want to say it's like Hyrule Warriors, if I'm thinking about it right, where you like have to go in and you have to fight kind of like not necessarily waves of monsters, but kind of waves of monsters, and you have like a team of 4, and you can like swap between them, and they have like different abilities and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a game like that. And so like the main game's really good, and then the post game is like probably 2 to 3 times the size of just like the main game in terms of like stuff to do, and just, but a lot of it's like very grindy. So it was kind of like mind numbing, just eyes rolling to the back of my head while I just killed monsters. See, and now I talked about it, and now I just feel even worse about myself.
I think that's impressive, but
So 57. I'm at 57 platinums on the year.
okay, you need what, like 2 a week the rest of the year?
Yeah. I'm somewhat ashamed to say that I might bust out the Vita and play through some shovelware, like crosswords or whatever.
That's
Just
fun.
get
The fact that you're using the Vita in 2023 is trophy worthy in its own.
Thank you for turning it around and making me feel a little bit better about myself. I haven't given up hope yet. I'm gonna try and avoid doing that to the best of my ability. So I have a list of games that I'm looking to try and that I think I can do before the end of the year. But yeah, you did just make it set in that the end of the year is approaching fast, and I have my 69th planned already. I'm ready to get the Spider-Man 2 one. So I basically need to get 11 right now. I think I have a path, so we'll see. And if for some reason you're listening to this for the first time, this is the first episode of Good Game, Bad Game that you've ever listened to, what we're talking about is, Mike, I challenged myself to get to 69, and then you upped the ante, or did you challenge me to get to 69? How did that even start?
I think I said if you get to 69. I think you had gotten like an egregious amount of trophies in a short period of time, and you had like,
I was up to like 40 on the year or something, I think.
yeah. Yeah, you get to 69.
You said you would get me a real trophy.
I didn't. Well, yes.
Oh.
I said you would get a trophy.
Oh. Interesting.
I explicitly said it was going to be real. It's going to be physical.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. What determines something versus real or not real? If you get me a fucking NFT trophy, I'm gonna fight you.
It's real.
I'll lose that fight, but I'm going to fight you.
You physically own that piece of digital content.
Oh my god. All right, let's get down to what this episode's actually about. My wife had a fun idea for us where she said that we should do like a gift buying guide for people who have like gamers in their life. And so I gave both of us 5 prompts in which the various levels of gamers I think there are in the world. And this is not all encompassing in any way whatsoever. But I think most people could fit into one of these like 5 niches that I've kind of carved out. All right. So we've got someone who's completely new to gaming, right? Like they don't have any experience. And then this one's a little prompty and a little specific, but someone who's bought a Switch for Animal Crossing during the pandemic, because that was obviously a very big thing that a lot of people did, who probably were in that first bucket of just new, and this is like they've dipped their toes, but not a ton yet. Someone who plays the same game every year, so like somebody who only really plays Call of Duty, Madden, like the other sports games, stuff like that. Someone who plays all the hits, so like somebody who plays like all the big AAA titles. They've had a field day this year with all the games that have come out. What would you get somebody like that? And then someone who used to play consistently but doesn't really have the time to anymore. What would you recommend or buy for someone who kind of falls into that bucket? I think that's a pretty good glimpse at the gaming market. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it gives you at least a direction to head. We'll give suggestions, but they aren't necessarily de facto, and you can just kind of take your ideas from there.
Yeah, I think this is like a way to get the wheels to turn in, so let's start. We'll kind of go in like the growing order, basically, of how I just laid them out. So let's start with someone who is new to gaming. If somebody needed to buy something for someone who they want to get into gaming, they haven't yet, what would your recommendation be? How would you try to steer them?
I would, I guess I could go 2 different directions for it.
I also have 2
Can we
different
have-
directions.
Can we have crossover for this?
Can we have crossover?
Yeah, like, do we need to have unique gifts for every person?
I tried to, but I definitely think I think there is like something that would work for pretty much all of these.
Yeah,
I think
Right.
we might know what that is.
probably.
But yeah. So yeah, you can. But yeah, I tried to be unique for each one.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess for somebody who's new into gaming or wants to get into gaming, and assuming they don't already have a console,
Mm-hmm.
I would say your best bet is probably a Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
And frankly, I would say like any of the models. If it's someone who would be comfortable just playing on handheld, then go with the Switch Lite. They're pretty cheap these days. I think probably less than $150. And I think they even still sell like the original model for much cheaper than the OLED. So there's different levels depending on your resources and what you're willing to commit. But I've noticed for me, even people in my life who aren't necessarily new to gaming, but maybe are being reintroduced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to avoid this being similar to one of the other questions, but it's just kind of natural, and the games that you can get for Switch can range from very beginner and easy and relaxing to even more advanced games.
Yeah. I kind of had the same thought for one of my paths. Was I also thought like the Switch was good, because there is a nice. Obviously, there are casual games on all consoles, but I think the one that probably sticks out the most when I think of a casual game is like Animal Crossing, and just like how how big it is in like from like the public point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was thinking about how like a platformer, I know we've talked about how some older platformers especially and even newer ones can prove to be rather difficult, but I think a platformer genre in general is about as like basic as a game can get, like especially like a side scroller. So like thinking about like Mario, right? Like you're just running from, one side of the screen to the other. You just have to time jumps and stuff like that. And obviously again, there can be a ramp up in difficulty, but I think like there's something to be said about like experiencing a new installment of a franchise that's basically so integral into like how gaming got to where it is today. And like conceptually, again, I feel like a platformer is easy for somebody who's new to gaming to like wrap their mind around. There's not too much going on normally.
And I think, kind of going on along what you were saying about how Mario is so integral to like what gaming is today. I think you learn a lot of kind of inherent mechanics to video games when you are playing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that you should be puzzle solving is a little more obvious than, say, if you were playing like a narrative game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that kind of helps you think about like when you get to the point where you're playing narrative games, what to look out for, like what things are gamified that like might not, like even if you're playing a super realistic game, might not occur in the real world. Looking out for Easter eggs, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Another like honorable mention for this category for someone who's new to gaming, that probably doesn't involve a whole lot of new resources is, I know on Android they have Google Play Pass. I think there's something similar on Apple. But it's essentially like it's a subscription. I think it's on Android. It's like $5 a month, and there's a set of games on there that you can access as part of that subscription. And some of them are older console games. I think Knights of the Old Republic is one.
Oh, wow.
And of course you can connect a controller to a phone or an iPad even. But that subscription service is something that can give people access to a bunch of different types of games, including platformers, and without a whole lot of investment in a console or things like that.
Yeah, that's probably a really good recommendation for like truly just a way to like really dip your toe, right? Like I think kind of to what you're saying, right? Like a Switch is a bit more of an investment in this person's like gaming longevity, right? Versus everybody has a phone already that is most likely capable of running all of these things anymore. So that's actually a really, really solid recommendation. I like that. My other route that I was going to go, and really stick with me here, I was going to be slightly biased and say get them a PlayStation, probably a PlayStation 4 from the mindset of, again, not trying to like break the bank or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was really trying to think of like what games do I feel like, I mean, what games are like my favorite, right? So obviously, again, I'm biased towards a lot of like Sony first party games, but I really think about like Uncharted, right? And we always talk about how Uncharted is kind of like that perfect game in the sense that it really gives you a ton of different aspects. So there's puzzle solving, there's combat, there's, like so many games anymore have like first or third person shooting, right? So you kind of get used to those mechanics and stuff like that, right? And if the Uncharted games feel like a perfect bridge into so many other and like being able to take what you learned from that game and translate that to other like AAA titles.
Hmm.
So that was kind of like my first thought actually was because I was trying to avoid the Switch thought. Because that one is probably the obvious, and most people would probably think to just go there right away anyway. I was thinking, yeah, along the lines of like the Uncharted series. So buy them a PS4 and the Nathan Drake collection, right? And
Hmm.
you're off and running. Um,
Yeah, and Nathan Drake is my George Washington on my Mount Rushmore.
there you go. There you go. That's so funny. We were just talking about Mount Rushmore on the stream on Monday. The irony.
Well,
Anyway.
I feel like I talk about Mount Rushmore more than most people, so it's the chance of that are pretty high.
Yeah, so that's kind of where my mind immediately went, right? It was like
Mhm.
something that kind of is all encompassing of like many different aspects of gaming all put into one game. It's like a good narrative as well. You're kind of like getting that like video game slash movie experience. That I feel like and the difficulty, right? Like obviously those games can prove challenging, but there's difficulty settings. And so I
Right.
think anybody would realistically be able to put it on the easiest difficulty and not have too much trouble. So that was kind of where my mind went.
I think that's, I really like that suggestion because you think about the PS4 and like the Xbox One generation and even going into the PS5 and series generation.
Mm-hmm.
So much of it was remakes and remasters.
Yeah.
So you could get somebody a PS4 and you kind of open them up to a whole library of the past 30, 40 years of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sony, like you said, did a lot of the collections. Another kind of foundational game in the 90s was Crash Bandicoot. And you get some of those mechanics from Uncharted. But also you could go get the trilogy.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like you could get like the Crash trilogy, you could get the Spyro trilogy, you could get there's all those bundles of really solid games uh that were kind of made new again, but not actually a new installment, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, kind of the perfect time really to get into like games because you are getting this opportunity to like so many people are re-experiencing games from their like childhood and nostalgia and stuff like that, and you're getting to experience them in like their best form by not having to play the original, which likely 25 years on does not hold up quite as well.
Yeah, I mean, how it looks now remastered is what it looked like to us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Early
exactly.
2000s on a 12-inch TV.
Yeah, every new console generation was wow. I can't believe how realistic these games look, and then you go back and you're like, what the fuck were we smoking?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, that's great. All right, so that's how you that's the GGBG recommendation for somebody who is completely new. They don't have anything gaming. Um, what would you recommend for someone who's looking to buy for that person who bought a Switch for Animal Crossing during the pandemic, but that was kind of it, like they're ready to start to branch out off of that. What are you going to buy them there?
Mhm. I think a pretty good uh, segue, knowing that they like Animal Crossing, for me would be Pikmin 4. Uh,
Okay.
and or the Pikmin 1 and I think it was 1 and 2 collection that came out. Um, it's not like the island building simulator that Animal Crossing is. It's a bit more linear, but it's still kind of got that like you can just go in and do a level. So
Mhm.
there's kind of a pseudo timer on each level, so it can only, well, with an asterisk, it can only take you like a defined period of time. So it's very easy to like go in, do the whole level or part of the level, and then take a break. Um, the mechanics are super simple, and it's just like one of those satisfying games to play.
I like it. That's a great recommendation. I went a little weird with this. So again, kind of stick with me here. I was thinking of this as if they're into Animal Crossing, they're into like a more casual style.
Mhm.
So I would get this person a Nintendo DS
Oh yeah.
with Cooking Mama
Yes.
and
Yes, sir.
and Nintendogs.
Yes.
And I like the more I like sat on it and thought about it, I was like, well, the person who bought a Switch for Animal Crossing might also kind of fit into like the last bucket where it's like somebody who used to play video games but like really hasn't anymore. They kind of grew up, right? Because I
Mhm.
think a lot of people who are buying Switches and Animal Crossing were like fresh out of college, and they were ready to have given up on video games, and I don't know what people do with their time. But then the pandemic happened, and so they were forced back to the evil clutches of gaming. So they might have already had a DS when they were younger, right? And this was just like getting them back into it. But I still think it's a great idea because like if they used to have a DS, they would probably go fucking crazy because they're like, oh my god, I got a DS again, and oh my
Right.
god, Nintendogs, and oh my god, Cooking Mama, and then they're gonna sit there and try and speak the fucking name of the dog into the shitty mic on the DS, and they'll go crazy for it. So that's where like I wanted to try and like think a little bit outside of the box for that one, and that's kind of where my mind went. Obviously, there's like any number of other farm slash island build type games. I love your answer because you didn't just like kind of go that same route where like you still went for something that's um not like super intense, right? But it's not quite exactly. There's so many copies of that type of game, right? Of Animal Crossing.
Right.
Um,
And
uh,
I kind of interpreted this as because I know a few people who this happened with. Like COVID happened, and they bought a Switch literally for Animal Crossing,
yeah, exactly.
and then didn't play anything else. So you've got the console. You don't need to buy another one in
Hmm.
my situation. Um, and it's you could jump right in, or you could step it up and play Metroid Dread like a real gamer. But
You can get Doom for you can get the other game that came out on the same day as Animal Crossing. Um, no, yeah, yours is the more economically smart decision. You already got the
me too.
console.
I,
Just build off of it.
imagine somebody Christmas morning waking up. There's a half-eaten cookie by the fireplace,
Nice.
half-drank glass of milk because Santa's got a lot of milk cookies to eat.
Because your dad's lactose intolerant, but he's got to do it for the performance.
Dad's got nothing to do with this. Dad left for cigarettes 18 years ago. Uh, and you open up your package, and there's a Nintendo DS and Nintendogs and Cooking Mama, and hell, let's throw Brain Age in there.
Okay.
You say, oh my god, this is everything I sold for $5 at GameStop 15 years ago.
Oh my god, is it
Here's the
2008? No, it's 2023. You're 30 years old now and you're just as excited. Right? It's pretty great.
Yeah, yeah. Throw some pizza rolls in the microwave.
Oh shit. Mom bought pizza rolls. Yeah. I had the thought immediately where I was just like, this is kind of douchey, like saying like, yeah, spend $200 on this dated piece of tech that is like now rubber banded, it's accruing value again. But a DS is also great because it, it's got the Game Boy Advance cartridge reader and the DS cartridge reader. So you just have a whole library kind of opened up to you. Granted, the aftermarket of some of the games that you're potentially looking for may not be great, but nonetheless, there's some I think there's some really good opportunity there. So, okay, what are you buying for somebody who just plays the same game every year? Somebody who's like only plays COD. They pre-ordered this new Call of Duty to play the 4-hour campaign, and they're kind of hating themselves now because they did that. Like, how are you trying to shake things up for them?
This is kind of more of a generic answer for me, I think. So I would say something like, and maybe I'll ask for your help on this, but something that's like kind of super extract, but not overwhelming. So I'm not thinking like a Soulsborne game.
Okay.
I don't think that somebody playing COD or Madden, they're probably going to be someone like me. Really, it's just Madden for me, but and I do play some other things, but like it's hard for me to get into games like that 'cause it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking more of like a narrative-based game. Games like The Last of Us come to mind. Spider-Man. I guess I should just say a Sony first-party game. But even games like I've been seeing a lot from Alan Wake the past week since that just came out.
Sure.
I think that's a little more abstract and kind of opens up what gaming can be outside of the annual releases. And there might be a lot of these this year with how bad Modern Warfare 3's story is getting run into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. So yeah, I think to kind of like help build off of what you're saying, I think, yeah, focusing in on, but I would really focus in on like a new release, right? Because I feel like somebody who's like, who especially somebody who plays COD, right? Like they're used to playing like a current thing, right? And like a very like in the zeitgeist thing.
Mm-hmm.
So almost like you said, like an Alan Wake 2, right? Where it's just like, hey, just give it a try, just take a little dip, Let's see if you like the writing musings of Mr. Wake, as like a way for them to still be a part of something that's happening. They can engage potentially with like some online discussions and stuff like that, and they can feel like they're a part of something bigger. Because I feel like that's how a lot of COD people are, right? Like they feel like they're trapped. They have to play the new thing. I like that. My idea was Game Pass.
Yep.
This is the one where I used it. That game, I'm assuming Game Pass was the thing that you could technically use for any of these.
Yeah. And I was trying to figure out if I was going to wait till the end to be like, really, my penultimate gift is.
Yeah. Game Pass, the new PlayStation Plus, like whatever I'm assuming they're not playing any of these games on Switch, right? If you got a Switch to play
Right.
NBA, you're crazy. But yeah, you could
got a PS5 to play NBA, but
I mean, I would agree with that as well, but but yeah, but I would give whatever console this person has, this console that they play on. So, if they're a PC gamer, right? You've got PC Game Pass. Buying them a year subscription to whatever that subscription service is for their console is kind of like the perfect way of saying, like, you can't really pick any one game for this type of person. It's just like, you need to take it upon yourself, but I just gave you a fucking huge library of like 400 plus games. Just download anything other than something that starts with call and give it a try. And yeah, you miss out on Call of Cthulhu, but it's fine. This was the one where I was just like, this is where I felt Game Pass was like most appropriate. But yeah, it is probably the thing that could be used for just about any of these to make a pretty solid case for helping to widen somebody's horizon. All right. So what about somebody who plays all the hits? So they went crazy this year. They played Final Fantasy. They already played Alan Wake 2. They played Spider-Man 2. They played Starfield. They played Baldur's Gate. They play all of the big games. If people are talking about it on the internet, it has a 90 on or above on Metacritic. it's tough. What are you gonna buy this person?
Here's my recommendation. Go to AnnapurnaInteractive.com and go to the games tab.
Pick one.
Pick one. Pick a handful. If Annapurna had a subscription service,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be on it. I think so. Annapurna, for those who aren't as familiar with all the ins and outs of the video game business, is a big production company, and they do they do movie production too. They're kind of becoming a big conglomerate, but they help a lot of smaller developers, ranging from indie developers to even small studios. I mean, it doesn't have to be a team of two. It can be a team of 20, 30 that they help. And
Mm-hmm.
I think just the quality of games that they help produce, and I mean, they have just about something for everybody. Different art styles, different gameplay types, different narratives. I think for somebody who plays all of the hits, this is a good way to find some less known but very qualified games.
I like it. And my first instinct was like Stray, but then I realized that Stray probably actually would like fall into like it's a hit, But yeah, I think the idea here is like you have to go for an underrated game. Indie games probably would be like the main thing you're trying to like sift through. It's a great recommendation, right? Like there's a long list there with like all sorts of different vibes, and like you said, they're so close to other like big third AAA games and stuff. They just are made by like smaller teams and don't necessarily get as much attention. So that's a really good call. I was trying to go the route of like thinking of a couple of like really specific games, and this is tough because of course the indie games that really stick out in my head, or the smaller games that stick out in my head, a lot of people probably actually have had the opportunity to play, especially if they're very like in touch, So it's kind of tough, but I said Unravel. It's like a little platformer, a little puzzle game. It's a great game. I love Unravel. But also it's like in my head I was like, is it too big? Like is it too well known? If you say Unravel to somebody, will they go, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing about that game"? Or are they going to be like, "Yeah, I played it." So I feel like that one was tough. I also said Cult of the Lamb, but that one was, I don't know if it's just because it's so recent that also almost feels too big. And I also landed on, so I have 3 suggestions, kind of dependent on vibe. Kena, Bridge of Spirits. That game plays like an Uncharted, or like it has like so many different aspects to it, and it's paced extremely well. And I know it did get a lot of recognition and a lot of attention, but I would still question how many people actually went ahead and got around to playing it. So I think that one would be a good recommendation. I also think for this question, for someone who like has played all the games, you could also get them like a patch of grass for them to go touch. Got him. What do you think of those 3? Unravel, Cult of the Lamb, Kena. You think they're all too big? You think I didn't get like granular enough?
No. I mean, I think those could be easily overlooked. Like, yeah, if you're involved heavily in the gaming industry, like you recognize those names, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you've been playing Starfield and Spider-Man and what was the other game?
Baldur's Gate.
Thank you. All year, you didn't have time to go back and touch on some of these other games that have come out in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a good answer here would be, especially just for this year, like Sea of Stars, right? Like, literally
Yep.
comes out in amidst all of it. I do think it got really good recognition though, and people made sure, like, to let everyone else know, like, hey, amidst all of these massive games, there's this very endearing, charming, um, old school RPG style game. So that would also be a good one. But again, it was really tough because I can't tell if it's like just the circles I'm a part of have such a good appreciation for indie games. So that's why I feel like they're so well known, or if they are genuinely well known. So that was probably the one that I had the most trouble with.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss not bringing up, even though we've already had this as a recommendation, that Game Pass is
Yes,
another good solution to this.
absolutely.
I mean, that's, for me personally, that's what's gotten me to play some games that I might not have otherwise. And the risk of wasting money on a game you don't really want to play is is nearly nil.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a bunch of options. And then the platform does a good job of recommending things too and categorizing them, so you can go in and say, oh, well, this is the type of game I'm feeling today, so I'm going to go play that.
It does do a really good job of that. I've noticed that the games that it will like recommend based on my gameplay will change fairly frequently depending on what I'm trying to quickly platinum before it leaves the service. So it's funny if I play like a visual novel, all of a sudden the like games that are recommended to me are like all these other visual novels that are on the service, and it's just like I had no idea that any of these things even existed. So it is a very solid answer to this question. And of course, again, it's like one of those things where it's like you could probably say it for any of them. All right, lastly, someone who used to play video games consistently, hasn't had the time lately. This could be somebody who, like I could think about like maybe you're like, it's like a parent, right? Like they played when they were, in school and college, but then they became a parent and didn't have the time. Or it could be somebody like more recently, kind of similar to like the bought a Switch for Animal Crossing, right? Like they're 30 and they're only like 5 years removed from playing games. But life and everything. So there's a couple of different ways I think to kind of think about that, but what would your recommendation be for here?
So this is my really abstract one. And I think this is more catered towards people who haven't played, 5 or more years ago, not necessarily like in the past 5 years. And this also is contingent on being available by the time the holidays come around. There's a startup called Playdate. And I don't know if you've seen this, but it's essentially, it's a little handheld standalone console that's preloaded with games. And it's just a D-pad, 2 buttons, and then it's got this cool little like crank mechanic on the side. I've been really intrigued by this thing. I've been thinking about pre-ordering it myself. It's basically like a modern day Game Boy. I think they develop a lot of the games, and they're going to be opening it up to kind of some open source development. I think this thing is super cool. And I could see like somebody who used to love video games and their little bite-sized games could get back into it with us very, very easily.
That's great. I didn't even think about route to again kind of like try and piggyback on what you're saying. What's the thing? I of course can't think of it. Oh, the Analog Pocket.
Yeah, that has like the like you can put like Game Boy Color games in.
Yeah, it has, and then there's adapters for all other cartridge-based games.
Yeah.
So if like this is a person who still has all of their old gaming stuff, but like to give them the opportunity to play it on like a more updated backlit screen, stuff like that, right? And
Right.
to kind of have that. That's like another like here's a way to like utilize the stuff that you still have on hand. And then you think about like some old consoles and like the ability to hook up to like more modern TVs might not be so easy. And I'm pretty sure like those cartridges are also playable on this thing, if I'm understanding correctly. But yeah, something like that would actually be a pretty cool idea too, to kind of build off of your Playdate thing. I like that. My recommendation. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
Well, now I feel bad.
So yeah, I just the thing with this is that it's not technically out yet.
Right.
They are accepting pre-orders. Um, it's been kind of weird their timing of things, but it seems like they're pretty confident it'll be out by holiday this year. And if you pre-order it, the console alone is $200. You can get it bundled with the case for call it $220.
I think it's great. I think it's a great recommendation. Mine, I went sort of a different route. I went more so thinking like they have been playing recently, but just yeah, haven't had the time. So they need something that's casual. They can put a few hours into here and there, but if they don't come back to it for like a week, it's not gonna like completely mess them up or anything like that. So also assuming they have like more modern tech. At the very least, let's say they have a PS4, an Xbox One, or a Switch. My recommendation was off the bat. I thought Stardew, great game, easy to put like a bunch of hours into, but it's one of those things where it's like you could also just like do 1 or 2 days, and it's not too much of a time suck. And also, we talk about it all the time, right? Like if you put down a game for a month and then have to come back to it, it's super difficult. Obviously, like a game like Stardew, not all that hard to pick back up and understand the point of what you're doing. And it's the type of game that doesn't really have an end, that's where my mind immediately went, was like something that this person can keep coming back to, and it doesn't matter. You can put like 3 million hours into it. And it like won't get old, or there's not a definitive end, right? I also then went the route, I was kind of thinking about you, to be honest, and how you sometimes will like fall into like these like different peaks and valleys of like your ability to play. So not quite the same as this question, but like like you'll like use games like Madden or like Forza, like a racing type game where it's like you can put like an hour into it and it doesn't matter, right? But I was thinking, I was going off of that, and I thought like a game like Red Dead or Cyberpunk, though massive, there's a ton of content there, which I think would bode well, right? Like this is the type of person who wants to pay $60 and know, right, like the dollar per hour value. Like that's this type of person, I would think. They want to like far exceed, because they don't have time to buy all the games and play through them all and all that stuff. So I was thinking something like that, and then to build off of that even further, like Red Dead Redemption Online or GTA Online, because again, that kind of like mimics Stardew, where it's like you can kind of go in, dick around the map for an hour, do like a couple of missions or something like that, but it's very continuous, right? Like there's no end to the online portions of those games. And though grindy, there's like always stuff that you can work towards. And again, for this type of person, I feel like that's perfect. Whereas like, I know for me, I get tired of the grind after a while. So I have like way too many options. So my baseline would definitely be like Stardew. But yeah, like if they're the type of person that like a massive RPG wouldn't be like too daunting. I do think like a game that's like Red Dead or Cyberpunk. It's tough though because it obviously just depends on like what their actual availability would be.
Yeah, but I think those games give you different ways to play the game.
Right.
If you have, all of a sudden a ton of time and you want to take your time and get into the weeds, you can.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to get through the story and not do any of the side stuff, you can.
Right.
Or, you want to beat the game, so you just go through the main story stuff and then you can come back to it and do the side missions to get a little more of the lore and the story, but it doesn't necessarily affect the ending.
Yeah, like my main way of thinking about it was like Red Dead, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many nights like I would get off of work and I would just like fish or go hunting. Right? I have an hour, maybe two. I don't really want to try and get into a mission. So I'm gonna do this side stuff. I'm gonna like get, pelts and stuff like that to be able to upgrade my stuff, right? Like you can kind of like put a few hours into that, and then like suddenly when you have an open weekend, it's like, okay, I'll dedicate this now to playing the actual story and progressing and moving things forward. So yeah, that was kind of where my mind went for that.
And I can say, like, for me, I never hunted in that game.
You never hunted in Red Dead?
No.
Wow.
I didn't get the point. It felt like it was just like a busy work thing. So I didn't do it. And I enjoyed the game immensely.
That's so funny. That feels like a thing where like that literally feels like a Mike task where it's like, I'm in between meetings. I'm just gonna go hunt some deer.
No, I would just go massacre a town.
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, okay, that does sound more Mikey. Yeah. I think we gave some like good recommendations.
Yeah.
I think
pat on our backs.
Yeah, I think we did a good job here. One last one. Put you on the spot. I didn't give you this prompt, but I gave myself this prompt. What would you buy? What would you buy me?
I don't know that I can tell you. What if I buy you something for Christmas?
Interesting. Well, this should time out really well that we're doing this episode now, because I can tell you what I would buy you and what I did buy you.
So you did buy me something.
And that's a PlayStation 5, the Spider-Man version. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what I would buy you.
Yeah. If I had all the money in the world, I would buy you Activision Blizzard.
No, fuck that. If you had all the money in the world, pay off my student loans, you prick.
How about a pizza party?
Best I can do is 2 slices from Chuck E. Cheese.
I think for you, I would get you a Series S and 3 months of Game Pass.
Okay. I was trying to think about it, right? Because I think the obvious answer was that I would get you a PS5, and so you could play Spider-Man.
Yeah.
If I had to actually go on like a game level, like think about it just from like that standpoint, if I was going to try and get you like a specific game, I would probably take the leap. You haven't played the Soulsborne games, right? Outside of like what you said, you used to like play it drunk in college, right?
Yeah. I used to get shit-faced in college to play it.
I think I would like bite the bullet for you and get you a Souls game, so that way you wouldn't feel like the pressure of like, I spent money on this. That way, because I do really think, just based off of your fucking ability to play like certain games on ridiculous levels, I just know you're a monster and you would like be so dedicated to to getting good at that type of game and beating it. So
Probably.
but you would get very frustrated too, and
Yeah, so get me an extra controller.
all right, I'd buy you. Oh God, I don't know which one I would buy you because I've only played Demon Souls and Dark Souls, I was miserable. I actually didn't even beat it.
You haven't played Bloodborne?
I haven't played Bloodborne yet. No, because I stopped after Dark Souls. Dark Souls put a really bad taste in my mouth. And again, I didn't even finish it, so I don't know if I'll go back to it or if I'm just gonna move on to Dark Souls 2, see how that goes, because I want to keep working my way through them until I inevitably play Elden Ring. I don't think I would get you Elden Ring though. I think I would go like Bloodborne or Sekiro, since it's like more modern, and people fucking rave about Bloodborne. So
I would probably like Sekiro more. I mean, I think part of it for me is I don't like the medieval thing.
I mean, it doesn't even really. I don't know. I guess yeah. I was gonna say it doesn't really even like make that much of a difference. You're just fighting fucked up monsters, but you do have a sword in all of them. Sekiro's I guess more modern, but with like katanas.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
Like that a little more.
I got you. All right. I think I'd go that route though. I'd get you something that's like within a genre that I know you would. Again, just be an absolute tank at if you actually like bit the bullet.
Man, if we're talking like specific games, that's the hard thing.
It's impossible.
You actually play games.
It's impossible. I'm an enigma. Chances are, if you try to buy me an old game, I already got it, bitch.
I would get, just so you can start feeling my pain, the very first Splinter Cell.
Okay. I don't have Splinter Cell. So
Yeah, I know you don't. The only reason I said that is because the first thing that came to mind that I knew you didn't have.
Yeah.
Actually, I would get you like PSVR 2.
Oh.
Because it's always blown my mind that you never got into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's something you'd really enjoy.
I think by the time I was like ready and able to buy a PSVR, it was like it was almost too late. It's never technically right, but and then with the PSVR 2, I mean like I could I don't know. I guess I still just have my doubts with some of, and that's more so on I think Sony with how they handled PSVR 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I think the news just wants it. Like all the news sites just want it dead.
Yeah. Well,
so that doesn't help.
Yeah, I more so think about like, well, is this thing just going to become completely obsolete like the PSVR did and how they handled games? But, all right, yeah, I like that. It's like kind of like my answer too, where it's like something that you just haven't bit the bullet on. I'll help nudge you in the direction. All right. I think that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Good luck shopping.
Yeah.
Let the anxiety kick in.
If you take any of our recommendations and actually like follow through on them, let us know. I'm eager to hear if anybody thinks that one of our ideas was able to spark something for them. And I like to think that hopefully we actually helped someone. So let us know so our ego can grow, much like the Grinch's heart, 13 sizes or whatever, which is a condition that he should probably get checked out. That does it. Next week, we'll either have some Game Awards stuff to actually talk about, see if we were right there, so our ego again can be inflated, or we'll have a grab bag of other various topics from around the industry to touch on before we actually ramp up to the end of the year and the actual Game Awards and all that stuff. So it's still an exciting time for gaming, and we're looking forward to it. As always, if you could leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to the podcast, it'd be greatly appreciated. A reminder that I should put at the beginning, but again, we do have a YouTube channel where it's probably the best place to leave a comment. So if you want to go over there, it's Good Game, Bad Game Podcast on YouTube. You can do that. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.